So here we're the very beginning of making Camembert. And I've got the fresh milk that I just got today from Heber Valley Cheese. I'm sterilizing now all the molds and the equipment in boiling water. You can see I'm actually sterilizing the draining cloth, and then I'll start on those molds. And then I've got the area over there already done. I'll come back when I'm past that point. Okay, so just to get an idea, actually this is the first time I'm making cheese, sterilizing everything with boiling water. Sterilized this countertop, and I've got already the mats here that I've sterilized. Now I'm doing the cheese mats that will go under the molds. Also inside of there have some utensils. Try not to touch any of it. Really not sure what I'm doing, but I've watched a couple of videos, hoping this will work out. The milk today, not only was it an hour drive, but it was $20. I have one match too many. I'm going to use it to put my utensils on. Had to buy smaller than normal measuring spoons that went to 1/32. See, I have my ladle, and this is what I'm actually going to use to cut my curds. So it's just a frosting nut. And now we'll put in the molds. 4 Camembert molds, 2 gallons of milk. So I'm hoping this will go as planned. So now we're going to use the milk. Again, I have raw, unpasteurized milk from the dairy up in Midway. I've actually created a double boiler now. So the double boiler with the milk, and I've got to bring it up to 90 degrees before I can add any of the cultures. Okay, if you can see now, we are, maybe you can't see, we are at 90 degrees or 32 degrees Celsius. And so I'm going to add the cultures. So the first one is a mesophilic culture, which is, I think, a bacteria. And you put it on the top. You don't mix it in yet. It has to hydrate. The next two are different types of molds. And this is what helps form the white side of a Camembert. And I had to buy these special teaspoons for it. This mold, which is, I don't know how to say it, starts with a G. It's 1/32 of a teaspoon. Again, we'll just sprinkle this on the top. And then I'll close that packet. Then I have the penicillicandium, and that is 1/8 of a teaspoon. Cut that. Actually, I can sprinkle this up on the top. Now, cover it. And set a timer. It's going to sit and wait for 3 minutes to hydrate, and then we're going to stir it in. Okay, the 3 minutes has passed. Now I've got to stir it in. It's recommended that you stir it at least 20 times and in from bottom to top, not just around, because we're going to mix it all to make sure it's all mixed in. I hope mine gets stirred all the way through. I'm seeing little chunks. Stir that, and then we're going to let it sit for about 30 minutes to ripen, and then I'm going to add the next ingredient. So I missed this. I've already poured in, but I just added rennet, which is an enzyme taken from a young calf's stomach, and it helps the calf digest the mother's milk. In cheese, it's what actually causes the cheese to curdle. So we're going to make sure it's stirred in first, and it was about 1/4 of a teaspoon of rennet, again an enzyme from the cow's stomach, baby calf's stomach, and I'm stirring it. And then when I'm done stirring it, I actually have to stop moving the cheese or the milk completely, so the curds will form. And if you move it or stir it while the curds are forming, it's going to screw up everything, at least from what I was told. I'm just making sure it got all stirred through. And then I'm going to cover it, and it's going to sit for at least 90 minutes. And we're going to check to see if it's ready to be drained. Okay, it's been now an hour and a half, and we're going to check to see if it's set up right. It has to have a clean break, and I'll show you what that means. So I'm going to stick the knife in and lift up, and you'll see how it breaks away. It means it's ready. And what we're going to do is cut it into 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch cubes. So I'm just going to start on each side and do that. I'm going to do it this way. Oops. Now I've got long strips, and then we're going to cut it at an angle. Then I need to stir it for 2 or 3 minutes, very gently, to not break it up too much. I'm just lifting it up from the bottom. So I'm just trying to do this for 2 minutes, and then I'll let it rest for 5 minutes, and then we'll drain it. Okay, now I've taken the pot of curds, and the curds had settled, and the whey was on top. Poured off some of the whey, but then I poured the curds into this pillowcase that's in the bucket, and I've got to drain, and I'm going to pre-drain this. You could do it one of 2 ways. You could put the whey directly in, but it just takes it longer to fill the Camembert molds, so somebody recommended pre-draining. I'll pre-drain it for 20 minutes by pulling this up and tying it to a cabinet and letting it drain. And then we'll come back and we're going to start filling the molds. Okay, the time's passed up. It's been hanging. Mine didn't drain completely. I still see some whey on the top, but here's what it looks like drained. Yeah, so it changed a little bit of the setup. I actually went back and looked at another video, and they put it in a Tupperware. I've got my mold with the cheese, there's a bamboo, and I've got a dryer underneath, so the whey has space between the bottom of this plastic bin and the mats, the sushi mats. And then I have this mesh that is what that won't let the curds go down through, and then my Camembert molds. And now I'm going to take and put the Camembert in here. You see the molds are quite tall, but it shrinks quite a bit. So we're going to fill these up 3/4. I hope I have enough to do 3/4. And then we let it sit for about 4 hours, and we have to flip it. So just to show me putting it in. Again, this is my first time. But it is. I guess if you don't flip them, you flip them once so they get a nice even side on both sides. So that's it. I'll hurry and do that. So I just got through filling the molds. I noticed that I could only fill 3. So I filled them 3/4. You can see what it looks like in. I'm going to shut this and then sit it for 4 hours, and then we're going to flip it over, and then it has to sit 12 hours. So let's see how it looks after 4 hours. So it's been 3 hours and a half, almost 4, and you can see that it's already less than half, or just under half. I also put a hole. I brought this case back in and put a hole in the bottom, in this bottom corner, so it would drain off. It was starting to fill up. Now I've got to flip the mold so it's even. I'm going to do that right now. Picking this one up and just flipping it over. You can see the top, what that looks like now. And then do that to the 3, and then they sit for another 12 hours draining, and then the next step. So we'll see it back in 12 hours. Okay, it's been overnight. Here's what they look like inside of the thing. We're going to salt it now. We're going to put half a teaspoon on each one, on each side. I'm not sure how to do it. There's some people that say half an inch salt on one side and then let it sit for 4 hours and then flip it to the other side. That's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to see, we're going to take them out of the molds. You can see where they've started. I'm going to start with just salting the top side here. Okay, we're back. This is cheese salt, but I think you can use any salt. It just has to be non-iodized. So I'm measuring out a half a teaspoon. I'm going to coat the top and the side. And the sides obviously won't get as much, but they will get double when I do both sides. You see, I'm just wiping it on the top and then around the sides. That's one, and I'll do the other two. Okay, so it's been now about 6 hours, and I've salted both sides. Now I'm going to put them in the cheese cave. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in these little steamer baskets, and I've actually kind of modified them a little bit by cutting holes, ruining them basically, but cutting holes in the side I'm not even going to put the lid on fully. I'll cockeye it a little bit just so that there's plenty of air. As you can see, I'm just going to put one there. And I've put one of the mats I had broke. So I put one of the 6 there so it's not sitting down on right on the plastic. So I'll come back with when I put them in the fridge or the cave. Okay, we're sitting in front of the cave, the cheese cave, and I'm going to open it up. It's just basically a wine fridge that I've got set at 2 different temperatures. We'll use that when I want to slow down the ripening. I also have a little humidifier and something that measures the humidity. I'm going to turn this up just a bit because it should be in the 80s. You can see the humidity coming out. This is a small little humidifier. I'm going to put the cheese in, and it'll sit in here until the mold starts. And then I'm just going to make sure the lids aren't all the way down. Make sure it has plenty. And then I've got a little thing here to measure the humidity. And I'll shut that and it'll sit. I'll be turning it over once or twice a day.